Hello and welcome to the Urban Baristas podcast, the show that talks about all things coffee. I'm Braden, Head of Design and E-commerce at Urban Baristas. In today's episode, we'll be talking about the growth of Urban Baristas and what direction it's heading. Today, I'm joined by a special guest and investor, Richard Klin, and our co-host, Hugh Wardrobe. Richard, great to see you. How are you?
Good, thanks, mate.
Can you tell us a little bit about yourself? What's your background? How'd you find Urban?
Yeah, so I started work in the city in financial services and tech, and then I grew a property business, sold part of that off a few years ago, and then started to invest in startups and growth businesses. I had a lot of investments in the Wapping area, and I knew it had no good coffee shops, and so I went on a hunt to find a good coffee operator after I bought a commercial unit in Wapping, and it was just really hard to get anyone decent. So a lot of the kind of old style operators, we had some interest from Costa Coffee, which I knew just was not what the Wapping market wanted. And I just kept going, and we talked to a lot of the new breed of specialty coffee operators about 5, 6, 7 years ago. And none of them were interested. They all thought Wapping didn't have enough footfall, it wouldn't work. And then eventually I discovered Urban Baristas and met this guy. I think it was pretty obvious that Hugh very quickly knew what the market wanted and knew how to deliver a great specialty coffee brand. I think at the time Urban had just started and had one kiosk in Bounds Green. As soon as I checked that out and tasted the coffee, you knew these guys knew exactly what London needed. And I think, as we all know, Australia has been an amazing inspiration for the coffee scene, Melbourne and Sydney, and that's exactly what Hugh was trying to replicate in London. So that's how I really found Urban. And our first meeting was really about Hugh and Urban Baristas renting this unit. Yeah. But I just couldn't resist. As soon as I met Hugh, I think it was about 7 minutes after meeting, I made an offer to buy part of the business because I just knew that this is what Wapping needs. It's what my community around London needed, and I just thought there's just a really great opportunity to grow it.
So from meeting Hugh and obviously buying a part of the business, was that something that you envisioned, like this is something that can go really far rather than just having the 2 cafes as it was at the time? You had vision for it to really expand?
I mean, I think so. I think like a lot of businesses, it's led by the customers and I knew what Hugh's vision was, or what Hugh was doing already, and what his vision was exactly what so many people I knew, wanted it from a experience of coffee. I think the old generation of the Starbucks, the Neros, the Costas, they're increasingly not quite doing what this new generation of, I don't know the best way to say it, but perhaps people are more discerning about the coffee now than they were 10, 15 years ago.
Everything's changed.
Everything's changed, and Hugh was hitting that mark bang on. So I think, are the customers who want more Urbans? I think so. And as long as they do, we will hopefully just keep trying to expand to be able to offer them that.
Did you have any experience with specialty coffee before Urban Baristas, or was your kind of current experience at the time all to do with the old generation, like you say, Costa, Starbucks?
Yeah, I mean, I think London at the time, 5-10 years ago, it was pretty hard to find a specialty coffee shop. You've got stories of working in Canary Wharf. There was no good coffee shops. And still, Canary Wharf is actually really behind in specialty coffee for some reason. But it's there's a growing army of coffee shops now who are offering specialty coffee. So I think 5-10 years ago it was hard, but there was a few pioneers, Taylor Street, Ozone, which I liked.
Yeah.
But it was hard, and I think Urban's growth and the support of customers and the communities in which we operate is testament to people want this type of coffee.
And to you and Hugh, obviously Hugh's got quite a lot of ties with Canary Wharf. That's where you kind of envisioned it, Urban and everything. Is that an area that you still both want to kind of get into, start to dominate Canary Wharf? Because like you say, there probably isn't much speciality there. So is that a market you could start to target?
I mean, we've gone close a few times, if I'm honest with you, but it just hasn't quite worked out for various different reasons. And I think the reality of it is the rents they demand down there, it's a lot, and to make it work, it's difficult. So I think one day we might go in there, but the deal's got to be right. And over the years we've expanded and we've learnt a lot, and I think we've just got to be. I think we're much more cautious on our site selection now, and probably more focused on the neighbourhoods, especially for the work from home trend is continuing. But you never say never. Obviously there's a lot of people, a lot of great demographic. It's close to Wapping, so yeah.
So is that kind of just a development that you've realised over the time of owning a shop, is to move to somewhere a bit more residential, and that might actually be the reason as to why there wasn't much speciality back then in central London?
Yeah, I don't know really. I just don't think that the trend was there, and obviously Canary Wharf Group's owned by Canary Wharf's owned by Canary Wharf Group, and they had other things on their mind, so they probably were happy having Cafe Nero and Costa's and Starbucks, because obviously a stronger covenant.
Yeah, I think it's interesting. Maybe a broader trend as well in real estate is to placemake, is to actually build neighbourhoods and communities, and you find some corporate landlords are quite progressive with that, and we're ahead of the curve, and some are still catching up. So I think the sites we're talking about now, the landlords there, they really see themselves as placemakers and people who are building a community. And I think that works really well with an Urban, because yes, it's all great coffee, but fundamentally I think a coffee shop brings a community together, and so the places I think you'll see Urban in the next year or 2 or 3 are in those, as you said, neighbourhood areas, and where we've got a lot of progressive landlords that really wants to make a great place and a great community.
I think yourself is probably a bit of a testament to that, because you say yourself you own the Wapping store, the location, so that's kind of like a huge community gathering centre. I mean, I know we've got a few clubs that use the space now, tag us in their Instagram stories and stuff, and we've also opened South Kensington not too long ago.
Yep.
I think that's doing quite well. It's community based, and
definitely.
Yeah,
it's more neighbourhoods. So
yeah,
I think it's definitely a trend.
Yeah.
So where do you guys both see Urban Baristas in the next 5 years? So it's been just over 5 years since you both started. Since you've joined Richard, maybe 4. Where do you guys see it going?
Well, I think we're pretty focused on carrying on. We've got a pretty good solid plan for the next about 18 months with the coffee roastery coming along. We've just started work on a site in Manor Park on the new Elizabeth line, another kiosk style, which we're quite excited about. And then we've got a few other properties in mind. So we'll continue expanding at a controlled rate, very selective in where we go. And for us, it's really about getting the roastery open and building that our brand further about coffee, because at the moment we are slot roasting. So once we get that full-on roastery for ourselves, it'll help us a lot to further grow our brand story and start experimenting more with coffee and growing getting really stuck into the coffee roasting side of things.
And yourself, Richard, where do you see it going as well?
Yeah, I think it just reinforced that really. It's interesting being on the journey pretty much from the start and seeing you're presented with lots of different ways you can grow. And I think as the years have gone by, we've just steadily realised that it's coffee. Coffee is the reason people come in. I think that's our the thing that we were able to do really well. And just to keep investing in that. And
definitely.
And there's a multiple. As you said, the roastery I think is a really key thing for us. So we get closer to the supply chain of where the coffee comes from. Maybe even developing relationships. We have a great relationship with a farm in Brazil today, and maybe we develop that even further. And what do the customers want? At the moment, the customers seem to want more urbans. And continuing to find the right sites that works with, and the right partners to develop that with.
So we've also got a site in London Dock where the roastery was going to go. I believe we're changing that to a coffee school. You got any kind of plans as to how that will work? I've seen union run classes. Is it going to be of a similar sort, or you got different ideas?
No, it will be classes for the customers who want to gain a bit of extra experience, or maybe some experience in how to make latte art and home brew methods, and also it'll be acted as a showcase for us, for wholesale customers, and probably the biggest thing will be the in-house training of our baristas. We'll be able to do that away from the coffee shops, which is a better environment to train the baristas. The job market's obviously pretty tight at the moment, so we need to invest more on the training side of things, as we have that ethos of we get people that don't really have that much experience with specialty coffee, and we train them in the urban way. So I think it's quite exciting we'll have our own bigger space with a few coffee machines, and and also a chance for the customers to get that extra experience, experience of making barista standard coffee, because a lot of people at home probably got their machine, but they wonder how to do a heart in latte art and stuff like that, and it's a good thing to do with your friends as well.
Yeah, I think that would be quite fun as like a book a day experience of book a day, you and your partner definitely. Or someone come down, learn how to make a cup of coffee.
Yeah. I mean, that's what I did when I first started out on my, when I started getting interested in coffee. I did a weekend course. I can't remember where it was now, but my wife and I, we just did that, and we went for a few weekends, and it was quite enjoyable. You're there with other people that really don't have any clue how to make coffee, and you got to do that in front of a group of people. It's quite daunting, but it's a good way to learn a bit more, and we can offer that to our customers and also train people in-house. So I think it'll be good.
Yeah, over in the past 2 years, Richard, there's obviously been quite a shift in terms of how we can sell products. We started doing online e-commerce, and I think that's been quite a great evolution for Urban Baristas to sell our coffee online. Do you think there's going to be something else that will be new in the next few years? So e-commerce wasn't such a big thing, let's say 5 years ago, whereas now if you're not doing it, you're kind of like seriously missing out on a massive...
Urban coffee in the Metaverse. Yeah. I'm kidding.
Coffee robots.
Yeah.
Have you thought much about the Metaverse, or how Urban can get in there as such? I think it's a $1 billion market.
Yeah, I mean, I've thought about a few things. It's probably still a bit early for us at this stage, but there's a few ideas floating around the back of my head.
I think you were talking about NFTs, weren't you?
But I think we just focus on what we do best at the moment. And, worry about that when the time comes.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of innovation and things in the future which you have visibility on, and some things you don't have visibility on. And the closer you get to them, the clearer, the muddy water clears, and you can see where you fit in. I know I sound really boring, keep saying it, but I think we are, as a business, we're just completely focused on our customers, and where the customers want us to be, I think we'll go, and hence the e-commerce, there was a big demand for customers to start to get our beans at home. I think in part,
pods,
absolutely, and so
once we get our roastery, we're going to buy a pod machine and start doing pods ourselves, which we've held back on due to a variety of reasons, really, but we want to be able to produce it in-house. So I think pods is probably the next. Okay, it's already a trend out there, but for urban, that's probably going to be the consumers want that, don't they?
Exactly, and customers want that. They wanted beans at home. They want pods. We'll find a way to get them the best coffee in a pod. Yep. I think there's going to be a lot of opportunities going forward. I think for the next year or two and three, it's quite clear what we need to do to serve our customers and our communities. And but yeah, after that, the metaverse or whatever else.
So you've been part of Urban for a while now. Surely you have some funny stories or something, or you can give us a glimpse into Hugh's personality away from Urban. Any funny stories that come to mind?
Oh mate, yeah, I think we're having a coffee shop business is just a fun thing. It's a place that people come into, and they come into. Yeah, it's just a great fun business.
Yeah.
So there's loads of things, but I think the way we met and how quick we were just to dive into business, and I always think that's quite a funny story. But coffee shops are good fun, and yeah.
Have you ever had that experience of delving into a business such early on? I think you said 7 minutes. Has that ever happened to you before, or is this something that you truly like? Yeah, this is definitely going somewhere. I want to be a part of it.
I think this was pretty unique, and I think it was just really obvious that. I mean, as a customer of Urban, you could see, wow, this coffee's great, the concept's great, it's needed, and there's almost like 5 years ago, there's a wide open opportunity to give people this. So yeah, for me that was unusually quick, I think, but yeah, pretty obvious it was going to work.
And Hugh, as yourself as the founder, owner, what kind of drew you to actually getting investment, bringing someone else on board at the time in which you brought Richard on?
Yeah, I think Jono, as we said, Jono and I started Bounce Green, and then I was living in Wapping at the time, and I found that location, and yeah, to be honest, I was umming and ahhing a little bit to do it. It was a big investment, and then Jono was actually moving back to Sydney, and there was a bit of like we weren't quite sure which way we were going, and then I just decided to meet Richard. He kept on hassling me. I'll come down for a coffee at there was another Italian type of deli, and then I finally went down and met him, and I thought he was going to be like a 70-year-old like granddad, old landlord, but then I realised he's actually was my age, and had the same drive to move things forward, and just go for it. So then obviously, as I was saying with Jono, it's great to have business partners because you can bounce off ideas with people, and talk about things. I was saying for my business before, I was doing it by myself and it got a bit lonely, but having two partners is really good. We haven't had any blow-ups or anything like that, which is good. But yeah, it's always fun to do something with other people, especially in the coffee industry, because it is so, it's all about people. So I think, we've got the right number of investors and, partners, and, I don't think we want any more. But yeah, that just worked well. And like we both, I think it's a bit crazy. Richard and I have some crazy ideas, and we like big dream. I think maybe we get a bit over carried away sometimes, but, my wife corrects me on that and, calms us down a bit. Yeah. But we both have big plans, and, I think it's nice to have big vision. What's the point of, I think we both, we're not in this to do one little coffee shop and, just have one shop and that's it. Like we have big aspirations, and we're not proud, we're not scared to admit it. You know what I mean? So why not to go into business with someone like that? So.
Yeah, I think I just reiterate that. I think it's interesting. We are both driven in quite a similar way. And we actually had the conversation. We were at a site visit yesterday, and both our dads are entrepreneurs, and came up from nothing and made something of themselves. And so I think that was quite inspiring to us, wasn't it, when we were kids? And so I think the three of us all have a similar drive and similar ambition and aspiration. And of course, you get some knocks along the way. And,
exactly. We've definitely made some mistakes, and we're all new to the industry. So, but now I think after 5 years, we kind of, sometimes I forget that we actually know quite a bit now compared to what we used to. So, we're more calmer in the way we go about things now and think things through a little bit more. But yeah. That's good.
What's your kind of ideal size for the company to grow to? Obviously, you compare yourself to Blue Bottle a lot in America. Is that an ideal situation for you? Is that really where you'd want to see the brand, or you still like it being your local?
I mean, I think we're obviously
hub?
more local. You don't want. You can dream big, but let's focus on providing the local customers around London, and we'll probably go outside London is the next stage. And I think it's nice to have those big aspirations in the background, but you've got to take it step by step and serve your local communities properly and maintain your standards, and then eventually something might pop up that we grow that big. But let's focus on doing great coffee, great customer service, and we're still a young company in terms of operations, building the infrastructure around operations for the sites. We've still we take one thing I'm proud of. We all the management team are all come through from basically being baristas, and we've got Veronica, we've got Erica, and I think it's good to create that culture within the company that gives internally people the opportunity to grow. And so going back to the question, one day maybe, but I'm not focused on that at the moment.
I totally agree. I think we've got customers today, we've got our team today. We've got so much that we need to do today, and to focus
on.
Exactly, just continually improve. And I think we are ambitious to serve more people, but I think you can't ever. You've got to be really careful that you don't ever sacrifice the quality. And I think Hugh's point's interesting about so much of our senior team now. They've been with us for a while. They've come up from baristas, and I think we find that really exciting. And the people that to keep trying to grow the team in that way creates a certain culture that probably we call it like the urban way, the urban spirit. And I think that's something quite unique and special about this group of people.
So kind of a split question for you both from different perspectives. Richard, as an investor, what's something that you look for within a startup company or a smaller company that makes you want to say, yes, I actually want to be a part of this? And Hugh, as a founder of a business, what is something that makes you think, actually, yes, I would love to bring an investor on board, and how do you go around doing that?
Go first.
I think for me it's really the person who's driving the business, and that passion, and are they doing something where there's a genuine need, and a lot of course you look at the numbers and you look at is this a really good scalable business that your capital is going to be put to work efficiently, but I think fundamentally it's the person behind it, and are they doing something special? Are they doing something that people really want? And in Urban's case, I think that was definitely true.
For me, it's probably the same. Really, I've got to get along with the person who potentially can invest. I think a good test is, can you go for a beer with them and have a chat or a coffee, and do you get along? Because obviously you have to have that relationship, daily, really. So, can you get, as Richard said, it's about the person, really, and do they share the same values and vision as what you're trying to achieve? Because you don't want to get an investor in that just constantly, fighting or against you. You've got to both have the same vision.
Yeah, I think it's interesting, especially in the startup growth phase, where there's a lot of opportunity, and there's a lot of knocks as well, and there's a lot of you're kind of in the trenches. So you're fighting side by side. So I think especially for early stage, they call it seed investing or early growth. It's great to have probably an investor that is up for that. And some investors just want to write checks, or just want to sit back and complain or whatever. But I think someone who's going to get in the trenches with you, if you are a startup business, is probably quite important.
And how would you advise a startup company looking for investment to go around doing that?
I think the ecosystem for startup and seed investments is a whole lot greater now than it was 5-10 years ago, especially in London, especially in B2C and tech orientated businesses. So I think there's a lot of ways to access those types of people, from angel. Well, they often refer to them as angel investors. There's angel clubs, there's angel networks. You can reach out to people on LinkedIn. So I think there's many ways to go about that.
Richard, it's a question that I've been asking every guest that we've had on board. It's kind of a reality for you, which is a odd situation, but ideal world, you're living above an Urban Baristas, you can pop downstairs, grab whatever brew you want. What would you go to be?
Espresso, double espresso. Yeah, I've never changed. I should probably branch out. Try something with milk.
Traditional.
Yeah.
What draws you towards the espresso rather than the other drinks?
I don't know. I guess I've always loved coffee, and it's just the purest, the purest form of it. But yeah, I probably should try some milk-based drinks as well. But
what do you think of the flat white?
I haven't had one for a while actually, but I think our flat white is great, and obviously I know the story and where the beans come from and what we do to them, and the training and the quality that the baristas have and the love and care they put into it. So it's hard not to feel super passionate about it. But obviously, as a customer as well, it tastes great.
Yeah.
So yeah,
What's your favourite store to date? So now we've expanded quite a bit. South Ken, Wormwood over the past year. What's your favourite store and why?
I think, if I'm honest, for just not nostalgic reasons, it probably is Wapping. That was the first store. I think it was the first sit-in store Urban did, and the second one and the one that I was involved with, and I've invested a lot in the Wapping area in real estate. So and I just knew it needed it, and I think we just did a great job of that first store, and the community's responded really well. So it continues to grow and it continues to be popular. But yeah, the newest store, South Kensington, I think is probably our best fit out yet. It's a really professionally fit out store. It's really well thought through, and the finish is great. So I think that the team did a good job with that, and thankfully people seem to be responding well to it.
And when you jumped on board with Urban Baristas, very early stage, it still had the old logo. I don't think we had rebranded as such. So I think you've got ties with Ben Prescott as well, who did the rebranding. What were your thoughts on the whole rebrand from where it was and how it is now?
I mean, I think with brands especially, it's all about the story. It's all about where you're coming from. And I think Ben Prescott Design is, obviously a very high quality agency, but they have a great take on it. And Ben always says he looks for truth. What's the truth underpinning this? Why do people need this? Why do people go to it? And I think a lot of branding is not a superficial thing. It's a really deep thing. And our partner Ben Prescott in that has really, I think, pulled out the essence of what Hugh created in the early days, and has told that story and continues to tell the story. I think it's a living, breathing thing, which will continue to evolve and grow.
So what we've been doing as well at the end of the podcast is we've getting the previous person from before. So yourself, it was Jono. And what he's done is he's left a question for you to answer.
Awesome. So
the question he's wanting to ask you is, what do you think the next big thing and trend in coffee is going to be?
Tough question, John. Thanks, mate. I think for Urban it's the roastery. I think, and the pods coming from that. I think the coffee community in all, especially in cities, in global cities like Melbourne, Sydney, London, New York, it's fundamentally about the customer. And we've questioned this a lot, and especially when you look at the certain competitors who have really branched out and do an enormous amount of different offers, from some cocktails and prosecco and all, and really basically full restaurant offer. I think what we have delved deep into is what can we do that's really special? What does the customer really want? And it's just getting closer and getting deeper into coffee, I think. So it's quite a boring answer, I guess, but just staying really true to our roots and making sure that we continue to grow with coffee at the front of everything that we do.
And what question would you want to leave for the next person?
That's a good question. Who's the next person?
I do believe the next person might be Veronica.
Okay. What's her next tattoo?
What's her next tattoo?
Yeah. And how many she got? I think it's like 30 or something.
I don't know. We'll find out for sure. Well, Richard, thanks so much for coming on the podcast today. Next week, we'll be speaking with our operations manager, Veronica, touching base on how things are run at Urban Baristas and how we like to stick to our Aussie roots. Richard, thanks for your time today.
Thanks, mate.
Thanks, mate.
Cheers.